All right, we are back here for part 2, getting right into it because we didn't finish talking, or we didn't get to night 1's main event, and we still got night 2 to completely talk about. Sir, night 1's main event, the tag match, The Rock and Roman Reigns facing off against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins.
Correct. No one's sharing entrances. Everyone gets their own entrance. It takes 25 minutes for the match to start from the hype video.
I literally timed the entrances. I forgot to time Cody's, but in total, the entrances all together probably took about anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes alone because each man was making their entrance.
But this is a business and a company built on entrances, Jack, and they were all pretty incredible.
Yeah, and you know, if you're wondering, like, what about certain theatrics for certain people's entrance, like I said to Ricky when we were noticing the lack of pyro, I was like, they're saving it all for night 2.
For night, hey, and it's funny because as the match goes on, you get the sense that they're saving a lot for night 2.
Yeah, definitely. Funny enough, I predicted who was starting this match, and it was funny because Ricky was like, man, if that was a betting option, you would have made a lot of money, because we were trying to think about it, like, logically, and I was like, they've been doing so much with The Rock and Cody. They want to save the interaction for when those two finally enter the ring. I was like, it's going to be Rollins and Reigns to start it off, and they did.
Yeah, and did you have any idea, Jack, who you thought was going to take the pin?
Funny enough, I was like, it's going to be Rollins one way. I was like, Rollins this entire time has just been like the fall guy in this entire feud that everyone's just like, man, he's not coming out of this feud looking a lot better.
Yeah, I agree, right? Like, he is definitely playing and it's funny. Actually, Jack, there's a whole card of people thinking someone's going to get turned on. I asked you about Carlito, right? I think Bianca Belair is due to turn on Jade over something, right? There's at least one other instance that I think people were really waiting, and I think lots of people were wondering how much Seth could be trusted.
Yeah, I had seen a couple of people questioning that too, and like saying like, would Seth turn on him, you know, because of his treatment in these past couple of weeks, you know, and this entire feud. And
the totality of 2020, what, 2 or 3?
22.
22. Yeah, when he went 0-3 against American Nightmare.
Yeah, and I even brought it up to Rick. I was like, man, it's crazy to think Cody's been here for 2 years now.
Oh, yeah. This story has been going. What did you think of the match, Jack?
You know, in-ring wise, there wasn't too much, you know, to really, like, look at. It was more of the spectacle of it all, you know?
A spectacle it was.
Yeah. Sorry for the listening audience. Like I said, I'm a bit sick. What do you think of this overall match, though, sir?
I like the Jay and Jimmy Uso match that I talked at great length in the first episode. This one felt like they were calling it in the ring, Jack. It felt like they didn't quite sync up and talk about what they were going to do outside, you know? I suspect I know which one of them was the least available to have that conversation in the back. I'm sure they were looking at each other going, so, want to talk? Busy, huh? Okay, well, maybe later. Maybe later. We're going to call it in the ring, Jack, and I think it showed.
Yeah, it definitely felt that way at times. You had The Rock constantly threatening to fire the ref as a part of the story.
It's so crazy, Jack, that we ever thought we were going to get a legit tag team match. This always should have been like a tornado tag.
Yeah.
But I like how we got there. I like The Rock throwing his weight around, being the people's boss. There's a great spot where he just straight up hits a low blow on Seth Rollins. And the ref, Charles Robinson, Little Nate, he looks at Cody going, I'm sorry, man. You can't do anything.
Actually, I think Charles Robinson was the ref for night 2. I forget who was the one here.
I can picture. Oh, you're right. I'm thinking of night 2. When it comes to night 1, whoever was the ref, he just looks at Cody and goes, I can't do nothing.
Yeah, I kind of like how they like didn't shy away from that, where they were just like, yeah, The Rock's the boss, you know, like kind of like the whole authority thing, where they were just like, The Rock's the boss, we can't do much here.
He's gonna swear. Hey, how much money do I have to pay to get the swearing unedited? Like, how much money does that cost? Come on now.
That's how I felt watching Paul Heyman's induction speech. I was like, is there an option to like hear this man unfiltered?
I'm just saying. We skipped the Hall of Fame part, the inductees, but how great was it to see him come out to that ECW theme?
Yeah, that was pretty fun. But
Goodness.
Getting to this match, you know, there's a lot of chaos. You got people going through tables, through the barricade. And then you got The Rock talking smack to Cody Rhodes' mom. Just a whole lot of chaos in this match.
You know, for a whole lot of chaos, again, like I said earlier, it felt like they were, you know, keeping things in the tank for night 2.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, The Rock said as much. He was going to leave him a bloody mess. We didn't draw any blood in this match, spoiler alert.
Yeah. New era, but where's the blood at?
I'm just saying.
That was funny. When there was so much that was happening on Raw yesterday, and then a couple moments during WrestleMania, I was telling Ricky, I was like, I can't wait till they go to Netflix to see if they actually pull back on some of these restrictions.
I mean, I feel like the blood one's like a health one. Like, you might want to keep that one so that, you know, no one contracts anything that they don't want to contract.
Yeah.
And the concussion thing, like, we don't want to stop. We don't want to induce more concussions.
Yeah. But like I said, you know, in ring, you kind of knew what to expect given 2 of the workers in this match, and one of them being basically pieced together by one Band-Aid.
Goodness gracious.
But yeah, the match ends, of course, with The Rock pinning Cody Rhodes, which was a bit of a surprise. But again, with the way the story's been going, they've been trying to set up since last year this whole thing of Cody Rhodes having to overcome adversity. Because that's been the key part of this story since last year when people ask, why didn't Cody win? Oh, he hasn't been through enough adversity.
Guy's chest almost fell off his body, but sure, I got you. He won 2 Royal Rumbles, but no, let's make him earn it.
Yeah, he takes the loss there. And I forgot to mention the stipulation was that if Cody won, everyone would be banned from ringside, you know, with his match with Roman. But if he lost, it's Bloodline rules, which is basically just what this match was and what The Rock was making it. No DQ, no count-outs, I think. You know, it was basically like anything goes until there's a definitive fall.
I don't know if you saw this tweet by Armando Alejandro Estrada. Are you familiar with who Armando Alejandro Estrada is?
It sounds familiar, but I don't think so.
He was the on-screen manager of Umaga.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Cuban, he did this like, haha, I am Armando Alejandro Estrada, haha. He's a good Twitter follower. And he had like, you know, some pretty insightful things to say about wrestling regarding the match on night 2. He said, this is when you've got to just overbook the heck out of this thing. He's like, this is the time to make it seem like 2010 TNA. You know what I mean? He goes, give them everybody. Give them Stone Cold. Give them Santino Marella. Give them everybody.
Oh, man. Well, going with that, straight to night 2. This time we get Stephanie McMahon appearing to opening the show.
Jack, the second Stephanie opens the show, I've already written this night off as superior to night 1. This is already better, Jack, because you know what she does that Triple H didn't do on night 1? And it upset me from the get-go that he didn't do it.
What'd she do?
She asked, are we ready? And Triple H didn't ask, and I waited for him to ask. And this is a business built on entrances and finishers and tropes, and he didn't do it. So I'm like, this is already better. Yeah. This is better than the Gunther Stanley match.
And with that, we open with Drew McIntyre challenging Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. You just said it. This business is all about entrances. We get 2 elaborate entrances for both men.
Yeah, groups of people from the Philadelphia area, the Scottish, warriors with their garbs, their kilts, their makeup, their swords, standing at attention for Drew. And then Seth had a group of folks that look like Mardi Gras, but it's not Louisiana, dressed as flamboyantly as he did. And I thought it was a crazy sight, Jack, but I was like into it when they started parading around the ring. It was really funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
a really cool visual.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. And then we get straight into this match. Sir, what'd you think of this match?
Oh, I'm Jack. Like halfway through this match, a third of the way through this match, I'm like, night 2. This is going to be so much better. And we get a Claymore right after the bell.
Yeah. This
and
one,
CM Punk on commentary.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to remember how I felt about this one. I wasn't able to give the first 2 matches my full attention because I wasn't home while watching them, Like, my family was out doing something. So I wasn't able to give it my full attention. But from what I remember, I thought it was pretty good, back and forth between these two. Didn't get to catch, like, too many spots, but I thought, it was crazy how many Claymores Drew had to use, Yep. And then Seth himself was hitting different combos. Like, he did the pedigree on the floor. He did the pedigree and then the stomp in the ring, Like, he was doing a ton of stuff to try and get Drew down. But, I don't know. At times, it felt like there was maybe too many big spots, Like, they just kept trying to, like, one-up him. And I was just like, okay, but what's going to finish this match then,
Yes. And Drew, the beast that he is, doesn't stop egging on CM Punk, right? He seems to have it won. He starts looking at Punk, threatening to hit the GTS. Punk with a great line. He's not just putting Rollins to sleep, he's putting everyone to sleep or something like that. LOL. OMG. I have here GTS into a roll-up, into a Claymore, into a stacked pin, into a kick-out. Yes, Jack. Night 2.
Yeah, and then finally he hits one last Claymore, gets the win over Rollins. Finally gets his moment in front of the fans after 4 years.
Yep. And Rollins is a wreck. He mouthed something to Drew from the outside as he limps away. Do you know what he said?
Huh.
Yeah, I think people have said, he said, "You deserve it, man." I think, like, he was visually passing the torch. It's like, this is yours now, right? The Workhorse Championship,
Yeah.
And it's everything Charlotte thinks she does.
Yeah, and, from there, Drew starts celebrating. He goes and takes a selfie, walks over to the announce table, starts showing off his CM Punk's face.
He literally said he was going to win the belt and shove it in Punk's face, and he was doing that, Jack.
Yeah. Shoving it in Punk's face. Just, trying to be a man of his word. Something CM Punk wouldn't know about, So,
oh, my.
So he's going off and showing his face. And, of course, that dastardly heel CM Punk, his fragile ego is hurt, so he has to start attacking Drew McIntyre, champion Drew McIntyre, who did nothing to deserve it. He was just trying to stand on business, stand on his words, be true to his word, and CM Punk, the dastardly heel, has to attack him, and it leads to, before I mention this, right before this match started, when Night 2 was starting, Mr. Solis made sure to text me and let me know if Damian Priest successfully cashes in and wins this title, he's buying us all Damian Priest shirts. Well, here comes Damian Priest down to the ring. All the comments about him being the dumbest guy in WWE canon. Well, he's finally here to cash in on the biggest night. Gets Drew in, gets him for a huge choke slam / side slam, and becomes the new World Heavyweight Champion.
Am I podcasting with Nigel McGuinness over here with all the salt that you got for this guy? Yeah, no, Jack, when that music hit, right? And Punk's got that look of, I'm going to let this happen. This is going to be great. He hits him with that briefcase so hard. It launches out of his hands. Thank goodness it didn't fall into the crowd. He hit him so hard. Came at him with all the force and then hit that South of Heaven, Jack. It was the most beautiful chokeslam I may have ever seen.
Yeah,
goodness gracious.
He finally cashes in, finally pulls it off, and
Drew McIntyre was champion for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and all we can say is, we need to talk more about Drew McIntyre's World Heavyweight Championship reign. I mean, no bad matches, no bad promos. Dropped it at the right time. He didn't let it get stale, Put a young talent over at the finish.
Wow. The decision to do this was like super last minute. You know how I know that that's true, Jack? Because they didn't even make a new shirt for Damian Priest. Everybody has a shirt on Shopzo, but he just has like the WrestleMania shirt. And I go, yeah, I don't think they thought they were going to do this before they did it.
Oh, man. But yeah, Damian Priest has finally done it with a little bit of help from that dastardly heel CM Punk.
I think we're going to think him even more dastardly on Wednesday, Jack, when they air that all-in footage.
Oh, man. When they announced that, I was like, oh, man. I was like, I was like, hey, if that's what you want to do, I'll be like Drew. I'll be taking notes on Wednesday for a future podcast episode to use it as fuel.
I cannot believe how petty they are, Jack, that they're going to do that. Goodness. Oh, goodness. A friend, Mr. Ortega, remember Counselor Mr. Ortega?
Yeah.
He was one of the folks texting me, and he asked about Drew and Punk, about whether they had, like, Matt Hardy Edge beef, He's like, how real is this, at least? Because they're really laid into each other. My favorite part, he's sitting on the commentary tape with the belt. He's talking to CM Punk, and did you hear Punk go, I can't hear you because I'm wearing cans. But he goes, is this like Matt Hardy Edge, Solis? I go, no, his Edge is AEW.
Oh, man. But moving forward, we have...
I'm like, night one can go right to AEW. Night two, match two. We have a match, Jack, I was probably even less interested in than the Rey Mysterio match. This is a Philadelphia street fight. It's the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. Do you know what their group name is, Jack?
The Pride.
They are the Pride, even though it never said that. They get their separate entrance music, and they're coming out to fight the Final Testament, and who Corey Graves says are all celebrating their first WrestleMania, except Paul Ellering definitely was here once before.
Yeah. And I agree. This was a match that I just wasn't interested in. Made even worse by the fact that they throw Snoop Dogg on commentary.
Oh, no, Jack. No. This match was immediately elevated by the addition of Snoop Dogg on commentary. Jack, how do I trade up from Pat McAfee, who was awkward? Like, Pat McAfee is the best example of why you should have somebody in their ear. How do I trade up from Pat McAfee's garbage to Snoop Dogg just all year round? And it's not just that, Jack. Snoop Dogg isn't even the only special guest surprise they threw at our faces for this match.
Yeah, because Bubba Ray Dudley is here to guest referee.
OMG. A guy on YouTube, Jack, goes, how am I going to listen to this guy talk about the state of the business when he got that big old WWE payday? I was so excited, Jack. I was Philadelphia. I'm like, yes. Why, Jack? What's the storyline reason? I don't care. I love it.
Well, what'd you think of this match, sir?
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy, especially they used a ton of tables in this street fight because they knew Philly would want them.
Oh, yes. And there were some callbacks to your AOP of NXT yesteryear, right? With them, like, standing, powerbomb, back somethings, right?
Yeah. You had Scarlett put B-Fab through a table. You had Montez frog splash, I think, crossed through a table. One of the tables broke before they could even use it.
Yeah, that was really funny. Yeah. They got a new one out. Oh, Karrion Kross, right? Doesn't get the 3 count, starts pressing Bubba Ray. You don't do that to a Hall of Famer, Jack. You don't do that to a Dudley. And he's an absolute pro, Jack. He gets a whole crowd. This crowd, Jack, has already made way more noise in this match than in the entirety of night 1.
Yeah, that was a big downside to night 1.
Whatever. All he had to do, Jack, to get this crowd erupting is reach into his pocket and put on a pair of black frame glasses with no glass in them. And we're all excited.
Yeah.
Coaches the pride through the waza. And then Jack, I don't know how you feel about the countdown to him declaring get the tables, but I've heard him in an interview say they don't say it together at the same time unless you count them down. And it just sounds so good, Jack. I don't know if they were louder in the whole weekend than when they all yelled, get the tables.
Yeah. Pretty crazy street fight, works out pretty well, gets that crowd working, which, like I said, was a big downside to down 1 was that crowd just wasn't in it at all. I don't know, maybe...
They were waiting. They were waiting for somebody to give them a reason to say something. But You know what I mean? And I think, too, the wrestlers themselves were waiting for the audience to tell them something. It was weird. Both of them were waiting. Who do I blame? Jimmy Uso.
From there, we move on to our third match of the night. LA Knight versus AJ Styles.
This is, I think, a match that I saw people online, wonder if it's going to be any good. It doesn't have a stipulation, Jack. And somebody said that the Uso match might have benefited from having a stipulation. So this is another straight-up one-on-one. How is it going to go?
I personally think they did a lot better than the Uso match, which, I mean, there wasn't much, it's not that difficult, but, they worked a lot better, I think, in my opinion.
I agree. I almost think that these two saw that match and said, we got to come up with something. I will beat you, Jack. The instances throughout the match where the crowd was given the opportunity to say, yeah.
Yeah.
There were chops in the corner. There were punches at the table. There was a side Russian, why did I write this? Side Russian leg sweep into clubs across the chest. There were 4 different times of different parts of the ring where we were just saying, yeah. Yeah.
And, surprisingly, I thought they, worked really well together, and I don't know, I just seemed a lot more invested in this one,
Oh, yes, because they have moves.
Who would have thought putting 2 guys with differing movesets would work so well?
Just saying, German suplexes and avalanche German suplexes, calf crusher, because we went after that leg, Jack.
Yeah. LA Knight gets the victory in this one. Thought it was pretty good. He hits that BFT.
I wrote style clash attempt. No, pulling up the pads on the floor. We pull up the pads. We're gonna do it on the bare floor. He has a family. That match. 450 on the knees.
Yeah, that
night
was
2.
pretty good.
All day, every day.
We then get, funny enough, I think if we look past to the past manias, ever since the 2-night was implemented, I think if you especially look through our records, I think you could probably find out that you and I have generally enjoyed night 1s more.
I 100% remember enjoying night 1 more than night 2 last year.
Yeah.
Because I almost went to night 2. I was looking at tickets, and, I would spend a couple $100 to be at a WrestleMania, and I was going to do it Sunday. And I thought, nah, there's all the reasons not to. When I watched at home, I thought, I'm glad I didn't go. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't go for Cody to get beamed in the head by a rubber chicken.
Man. Moving on to our fourth match of the night. Logan Paul defending that U.S. title against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Funny enough, I told my dad when we were making our predictions for this, he was like, we were trying to think of who would win. We both thought maybe KO could walk out. But I was like, I think Logan's retaining because for whatever reason, despite working together this entire time in this feud, Kevin Owens and Orton are going to turn on each other and just start fighting because they both want the title.
And what a great story that was. You know, they were sticking together so much in the beginning. Just having a good time beating up this guy no one likes. Going tit for tat, you know, I can do anything you can do and such, right?
And then you get to, we mentioned how, everyone has to turn on Ray. Well, Randy Orton just has to be Randy Orton. He tries to RKO Kevin Owens. Owens is able to slip out of it. I just like that spot where Orton hasn't turned around to look at him yet, and Kevin Owens is just looking at him like, really, man, really?
Even in addition to that, Jack, I like when the crowd reacts to a non-move. It's the only redeeming thing from the Jimmy and Jay match. When Jimmy begs him off and apologizes, the crowd is literally don't believe him, Jay. Right? They're really they were the loudest then. Here, when they both go for the pin on Logan, Kevin goes for the across the chest, and Randy goes to hook the leg, and they realize that only one of them can pin. The whole crowd goes, oh.
Yeah, and I also like the spot where Kevin and Randy just look at each other, and they know how things work because they've both been heels as well. They just look at each other and go, screw it, and then they start going after each other. Yeah. What else was there?
Buckshot into a power slam. That was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Code breaker senton. So Kevin Owens hit a code breaker on somebody, but also landing in a senton on the guy on the ground.
Yeah, and then, of course, the big spot, the Prime bottle returns again. Who is it going to be this time? It is YouTuber iShowSpeed, someone I only know about because the internet talks about him. I have no clue anything else about him. But he's the one in the Prime bottle. He tries to start beef with Randy Orton of all people, and Randy Orton makes this kid pay.
I don't know if somebody gave him bad information or if he went into business for himself, Jack, but he was laying it in a little too thick. His, is pressing Randy Orton. I'm like, uh-oh, this guy didn't watch Raw in 2008 when Umaga taught the wild, what are they called? He taught Steve, what's his name? He taught Steve-O.
Oh, yeah.
About the business of professional wrestling.
Yeah, and you hear Michael Cole on commentary go, get me out of here. Randy's pissed. And I don't think that's a line fed to him. He genuinely believes, no, this is one of those random spurts where Orton's just taking things into his own hands.
And it's wild. I think I've heard him once before describe, it was that or Bubba Ray Dudley. Somebody described doing the cutter move, but in a way that it hurts more. And I think he did that on that table. An RKO to speed somebody, but not until after Randy Orton does the old bark thing or something.
Yeah, and then as they're fighting back in the ring, he RKOs Kevin Owens, thrown out by Logan Paul, and Logan Paul hits the frog splash to retain his title.
Yep.
The worst part, like I mentioned to my friend, the worst part about Logan Paul being here is he brings along all these other goofs.
You know what? If the goofs are going to get beat up in the manner that he and KSI have, you know what? Fine.
At least we're not still in the days of the celebrity getting the upper hand on a talent.
Pat McAfee, goodness, I'm real back and forth on this guy. He had the nerve to remind me that Logan Paul's fought Floyd Mayweather. Like that's anything to brag about.
Oh, man. Well, sir, we got 2 more matches and we got 15 minutes. So,
God.
Our next match is the women's match, and then, of course, the main event.
Got it. Main event might warrant its own episode with maybe some conversation about what's to come in the world of professional wrestling and what we're excited about.
Yeah.
I certainly want to hear, Jack, about what your match of the weekend was, what your night, did you prefer night one or night two, after we're done talking about everything.
All right, for sure. Getting into this women's match, it's the one that I had, proclaimed that I wanted to see main event one of the nights until the story just went. That's the best way I can describe it. It is WWE Women's Champion Io Sky defending against Bayley. The story was not great. It was very reminiscent of Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, where you're just like, this had potential to be a real good story, and you've just sort of fumbled things. In this case, it was because they did everything so quickly, like the announcement of who Bayley's challenging, Damage Control turning on her, Bayley revealing that she knew what Damage Control was saying all this time, Dakota Kai coming into play. It was like everything happened so quickly that it kind of ruined the story a bit, in my opinion. I
agree. I think it was in the Damage Control match from night one where somebody, probably McAfee, references Dakota Kai as the de facto leader. I'm sort of listening to that going, one of them's a champion, by the way. Gotta think Io ranks pretty high amongst the quartet. What'd you think of Bayley's entrance?
I found it super confusing because I was like, what is the whole Egyptian thing? And then I hear them on commentary mention something about an Egyptian park in San Jose or wherever Bayley grew up, and I'm just like, that's the connection?
It's weird, and even weirder, Jack, because she's being carried on the shoulders of four guys, and you're like, I feel like they should be holding something that she's sitting on. But she's like on their shoulders. It's a little awkward. It looks nice. Love her hair. I've hated her hair for weeks and months. This dude though, I love it. Like, this is a good look.
Yeah, I was just glad she didn't come out to Paramore so that it didn't sway my feelings.
I don't know why we don't got some Bayley buddies running around here. Come on now. I mean, I know she's not going to start hugging everybody, but this is the penultimate match of night 2 of WrestleMania. There's you and there's The Rock. I mean, this is a pretty good place, Jack, right? As far as, places on the card goes.
And then Io comes out, and I was glad to see she had her own theme and not the Damage Control one.
Uh-huh.
I like that. And I think you and I had said something at the last pay-per-view that we covered where we said, when it comes to this match, we're excited more for the match than whatever story leads up to it, because the way they were fumbling things, it was like, you're just hoping the match would be better.
And what'd you think? Did it exceed the expectations set by the story?
I thought it did. I thought it was pretty good. The one thing that I liked about it that I just didn't notice until someone said it afterwards, it very much played out like a Stardom main event plays out a lot of times, and that's the fact you didn't have any interference from anyone, not even Damage Control. They just let the two of them do their work together, And I think that may have even been a creative decision to be like, okay, maybe we've kind of messed up with this story, with the way we've done things, especially like a Damage Control. Let's just leave all that out and let this match do its best to, work with what we gave it, to avoid, especially because given what was going to follow, the match that was going to follow, let's avoid how much we include in this match,
It'd be funny if the next match that you're alluding to, Jack, has so much interference that even it includes Damage Control. Just like everybody, Jack. Everybody. I agree. I thought the match went very well. I enjoyed it. Bayley's knee is all jacked up, I suppose, so we're going after the knee with some dragon screws and the like. Io is also good for multiple moonsaults, and I love the variety of moonsaults. There's off the top, there's from a standing position, there's the middle one, right? There's to the outside. Is there one to the outside?
I think there was, and then I just loved how much Io was on her game for this match. Like, the counter she was doing from, like, the arm drag, the arm drag counter for the Bailey to belly, the counter she had for the Rose plant. I was like, man, she is on one tonight.
I do have moonsault to the outside. Yes.
Yeah. And then surprised me a bit that Bailey got the win, because I thought, we were going to see this play out even further, but Bailey gets the win, defeats Damage Control, who, like I said in episode 1, just other than Io winning that title, really hasn't done much.
No, regrettably. I also picked Io to win. But, not mad at all. The Rose Plant is a garbage move.
Yeah, I don't really like it that much.
Belly to belly or an elbow, preferably. I don't know. Like, even I think she does it, like, at her absolute best. I don't think it looks good.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it too much. But, yeah, this match, I thought it was pretty good. As far as, like, my personal favorites, it's like, I really like this one and the Gunther Sammy match, but, like, this one I thought was pretty good,
Yeah.
Thought it did fairly well in the spot that it was, too, like, with everyone anticipating the main event coming up.
Yeah. And, this is Bailey's, big WrestleMania moment. She's the last of the 4 horsewomen who never, hasn't had it,
Yeah.
Like a singles one, right? Like, this is a pretty big deal, and you're excited for her.
Yeah, definitely. All right, sir. Well, we have 8 minutes left on this episode, and we have a main event to talk about.
I've got one question we can answer in 8 minutes.
All right.
And I don't think it fits in the other episode. So now that we've talked about this match, who had the best moonsault of the weekend? Io Sky, Kevin Owens, or Andrade?
I'd probably give it to Io.
You think so? Because that Kevin Owens one, where he adjusts the angle of his body to hit Logan Paul, like he's 2004 or 5 Rob Van Dam, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, that is true. That Kevin Owens one was pretty good as well.
But it occurred to me how many moonsaults we had seen. Oh, you know who I didn't throw in there? New Catch Republic off the ladder on both sides.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one.
So many moonsaults. Hey, brother, protect the gimmick. Or you got to get your stuff in.
Yeah. And then real quickly, sir, I'll bring it up here. Was there any matches not from WWE this week that you were checking out?
The only show I got to see, and there's others on my list that I need to see. I haven't seen Sakura Genesis, and I haven't seen Joey Janela's Spring Break, which had Matt Cardona fight Blue Cane. But the one I did see was Bloodsport with Shayna Baszler. I was surprised to see Charlie Dempsey on the card as well. I was surprised to see Nick Nemeth fight Mike Bailey. And then Johnny Bloodsport fought Josh Barnett.
Interesting.
Did you see any non-WWE matches you were excited about?
I tuned in for some of Ring of Honor Supercard. I tuned in for the Stardom match. I tuned in for the Athena Shida match, which I thought was fine. I don't know. Personally, I just felt it didn't match the expectations with like those two names. I got Eddie and Mark Briscoe spoiled for me, so I didn't really I tried watching it, but I was like, I already know the finish is kind of hard to like really get invested the way I was. I didn't get Athena Shida spoiled for me, but even then, I still didn't enjoy it quite that much. The one match I was really enjoying was the Billy Starks Queen Aminata match at Ring of Honor, but then they did the finish. I don't know if you saw stuff about it, but they did a finish that I just don't know how to feel about, because I was just like, it seemed so real that it almost affects my viewing experience, that the fact that they used that as like a story element.
Wow.
I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know if if it made me feel that uncomfortable. I was like, that felt too real to really include in a match like that, you know? So
only imagine what you're describing. Would you recommend the Supercard card or highlights?
I would probably recommend highlights, but I would check out that Starks Amanada match just to see the finish that they go, because I was watching it and the entire time I was like, oh, this is a really good match. Like, this could be something to highlight. And then the finish happens and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about talking about this match in the future because of this finish. Like, it feels a bit awkward.
Like, when we stop recording and we transition from one episode to another, I'm going to tell you about 3 different things my upsetting imagination came up with.
All right, and then I didn't catch any of Stand and Deliver, but people have been really recommending that North American triple threat, so I'm thinking of checking that one out soon.
And you know what got spoiled for me was Julia's presence there, because I saw that I caught a glimpse. I had to go online and I saw it. I'm like, well, and I always catch myself too. If I'd seen it on TV, I'd feel the exact same way I feel now. So how exciting is it? Julia's finally made her WWE appearance.
I know. My dad kind of conflicted, but I know he'll be happy that he gets to see her on a more consistent basis, you know, because he doesn't watch Stardom as much as I do, but, you know, he gets to see her on a more consistent basis. I'm very curious to see how her moveset is going to look like in the WWE.
She's in good hands. The same hands that took care of Sarai and what's her name? I wish I knew names better. I could rattle off multiple Japanese sensations who didn't pan out in NXT.
Oh, man. And then, what's it called? A lot of Stardom news has happened since the last time we talked, where it's like, you know, talks of a new promotion with the old Stardom founder, and then Stardom retaining quite a lot more talent than they expected.
Oh, good.
Yeah, a lot more, but sadly, my favorite of the bunch is leaving for the new promotion. So I'm just like, well, great. I hope that new promotion is as accessible, you know, because like that's the one thing I hate is when it's like someone's like, oh, this match is happening here, and then it's like there's nowhere to find footage for like 6 months.
Deadlock Pro Wrestling. Good for them. I celebrate them and I wish them the best. Why do they have their own streaming service? Why aren't they on a different one that I already have? I have so many.
Yeah, I wish more, especially like independent groups would do what a lot of them in Japan do. So they are under the umbrella streaming service called Wrestle Universe. That one has DDT, Noah, Tokyo Joshi Pro. I think it has All Japan. It has like a ton of other indie ones too. And I'm just like, why can't more of you do that so that it's worth it and not like charging $15 to watch this one indie company, you know?
How many minutes we got?
1:50. So we can close this one and get right into our final part, obviously talking about the main event.
And also, you know, whether Jack thought night 1 or night 2 was better, what your match of the weekend was, what your move of the weekend was, Jack. I'm excited.
Yeah, super excited. Thank you all for joining for this part. Tune into the next one.